It's my opinion that mankind is quite unaware of the power of Eros. If they were aware of it, they would build vast temples and altars to him, and make great offerings to him. As it is, though it is of crucial importance that this observance should be paid to him, none of these things is done. Of all the gods, Eros is the most friendly towards men. He is our helper, and cures those evils whose cure brings the greatest happiness to the human race. I'll try to explain his power to you, and then you can go off and spread the word to others. First of all, you need to know about human nature, and what has happened to it. Our original nature was not as it is now, but quite different. For one thing, there were 3 sexes, rather than the 2, male and female, we have now. The 3rd sex was a combination of these 2. Its name has survived, though the phenomenon itself has disappeared. This single combination, comprising both male and female, was, in form and name alike, hermaphrodite. Now, it survives only as a term of abuse. Secondly, each human being formed a complete whole, spherical, with back and ribs forming a circle. They had 4 hands, 4 legs, and 2 faces, identical in every way, on a circular neck. They had a single head for the 2 faces, which looked in opposite directions, 4 ears, 2 sets of genitals, and everything else as you'd expect from the description so far. They walked upright, as we do, in whichever direction they wanted, and when they started to run fast, they were just like people doing cartwheels. They stuck their legs straight out all round and went bowling along, supported on their 8 limbs and rolling along at high speed. The reason for having 3 sexes, and of this kind, was this. The male was originally the offspring of the sun, the female of the earth, and the one which was half and half was the offspring of the moon, because the moon likewise is half sun and half earth. They were circular, both in themselves and in their motion, because of their similarity to their parents. They were remarkable for their strength and vigour, and their ambition led them to make an assault upon the gods. The story which Homer tells of the giants, Ephialtes and Otus, is told of them, that they tried to make a way up to heaven to attack the gods. Zeus and the other gods wondered what to do about them, and couldn't decide. They couldn't kill them, as they had the giants, striking them with thunderbolts and doing away with the whole race, because the worship and sacrifices they received from men would have been done away with as well. On the other hand, they couldn't go on allowing them to behave so outrageously. In the end, Zeus, after long and painful thought, came up with a suggestion. I think I have an idea. Men could go on existing, but behave less disgracefully if we made them weaker. I'm going to cut each of them in 2. This will have 2 advantages. It will make them weaker, and also more useful to us, because of the increase in their numbers. They will walk upright on 2 legs, and if it's clear they still can't behave, and they refuse to lead a quiet life, I'll cut them in half again, and they can go hopping along on 1 leg. That was his plan. So he started cutting them in 2, like someone slicing vegetables for pickling, or slicing eggs with a wire. And each time he chopped one up, he told Apollo to turn the face and the half-neck round towards the cut side, so that the man could see where he'd been split and be better behaved in the future, and then to heal the rest of the wound. So Apollo twisted the faces round and gathered up the skin all round to what is now called the stomach, like a purse with strings. He made a single outlet and tied it all up securely in the middle of the stomach, and this we now call the navel. He smoothed out most of the wrinkles and formed the chest using a tool such as cobblers use for smoothing out wrinkles in a hide stretched over a last. He left a few wrinkles, however, those around the stomach itself and the navel, as a reminder of what happened in those far-off days. When man's natural form was split in two, each half went round looking for its other half. They put their arms round one another and embraced each other in their desire to grow together again. They started dying of hunger, and also from lethargy, because they refused to do anything separately. And whenever one half died, and the other was left, the survivor began to look for another, and twined itself about it, either encountering half of a complete woman, that is, what we now call a woman, or half a complete man. In this way, they kept on dying. Zeus felt sorry for them, and thought of a second plan. He moved their genitals to the front. Well, up to then, they'd had them on the outside, and had reproduced, not by copulation, but by discharge onto the ground, like grasshoppers. So, as I say, he moved their genitals to the front, and made them use them for reproduction by insemination, the male in the female. Well, the idea was that if, in embracing, a man chanced upon a woman, they could produce children, and the race would increase. If a man chanced upon man, they could get full satisfaction from one another's company, then separate, get on with their work, and resume the business of life. That is why we have this innate love of one another. It brings us back to our original state, trying to reunite us and restore us to our true human form. Each of us is a mere fragment of a man, like half a tally stick. We've been split in two, like filleted plaice. We're all looking for our other half. Men, who are a fragment of the common sex, the one called hermaphrodite, are womanizers, and most adulterers are to be found in this category. Similarly, women of this type are nymphomaniacs and adulteresses. On the other hand, women, who are part of an original woman, pay very little attention to men. Their interest is in women. Lesbians are found in this class, and those who are part of a male pursue what is male. As boys, because they are slices of the male, they are fond of men, and enjoy going to bed with men, and embracing them. These are the best of the boys and young men, since they are by nature the most manly. Some people call them immoral, quite wrongly. It is not immorality, but boldness, courage, and manliness, since they take pleasure in what is like themselves. This is proved by the fact that when they grow up and take part in public life, it's only this kind who prove themselves men. When they come to manhood, they are lovers of boys, and don't naturally show any interest in marriage or producing children. They have to be forced into it by convention. They're quite happy to live with one another and not get married. People like this are clearly inclined to have boyfriends, or, as boys, inclined to have lovers, because they always welcome what is akin. When a lover of boys, or any sort of lover, meets the real thing, that is, his other half, he is completely overwhelmed by friendship and affection and desire, more or less refusing to be separated for any time at all. These are the people who spend their whole lives together, and yet they cannot find words for what they want from one another. No one imagines that it's simply sexual intercourse, or that sex is the reason why one gets such enormous pleasure out of the other's company. No, it's obvious that the soul of each has some other desire, which it cannot express. It can only give hints and clues to its wishes. Imagine that Hephaestus came and stood over them with his smith's tools as they lay in bed together. Suppose he asked them, "What is it you want from one another, mortals?" If they couldn't tell him, he might ask again, "Do you want to be together as much as possible, and not be separated day or night? If that's what you want, I'm quite prepared to weld you together and make you grow into one. You can be united, the two of you, and live your whole life together as one. Even down in Hades, when you die, you can be a single dead person, rather than two. Decide whether that's what you want, and whether that would satisfy you." We can be sure that no one would refuse this offer. Quite clearly, it would be just what they wanted. They'd simply think they'd been offered exactly what they'd always been after in sexual intercourse, trying to melt into their lovers and so be united. So, that's the explanation. It's because our original nature was as I have described, and because we were once complete. And the name of this desire and pursuit of completeness is Eros, or love. Formerly, as I say, we were undivided, but now we've been split up by God for our misdeeds, like the Arcadians by the Spartans. And the danger is that if we don't treat the gods with respect, we may be divided again, and go round looking like figures in a bas-relief, sliced in half down the line of our noses. We'd be like torn-off counterfoils. That's why we should all encourage the utmost piety towards the gods. We're trying to avoid this fate and achieve the other. So we take Eros as our guide and leader. Let no one oppose this aim, and incurring divine displeasure is opposing this aim, since if we are friends with God and make our peace with him, we shall find and meet the boys who are part of ourselves, which few people these days succeed in doing. I hope Eryximachus won't misunderstand me and make fun of my speech and say it's about Pausanias and Agathon. Perhaps they do come in this class and are both males by nature. But all I'm saying is that in general, and this applies to men and women, this is where happiness for the human race lies, in the successful pursuit of love, in finding the love who is part of our original self, and in returning to our former state.